I can barely hear you all.
Okay, let's
Turn
see.
my volume up. My volume is up.
All right, can you hear me and Donnie now?
I can hear you a little bit better.
Let
Okay.
me
Is your volume on your computer maxed out?
I've actually got you on my phone. I've got it completely maxed
Okay.
out.
Okay, so when you go to the is it the where is it at the bottom, Kelly, and you choose which how you want to hear it, you might be hearing us from your phone and not the speaker.
Let's see.
Go at the bottom.
Okay, I got you now. It was on, yeah, I had to actually re-download Teams for some reason, and so I had to redo all of these settings on here.
Okay.
So we should be good now.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, we should be good. Okay.
Hang on at
Awesome.
the end if you didn't hear me. When she stops recording, hang on. Okay.
Okay. Well, before we begin, we always like to let people know why we wanted them on the show. It's very important for us to highlight those in our field, those sometimes that may not be able to get on platforms but have done some amazing things. And I see you in Tennessee. I used to be at Clarksville. So you're not, yeah, she knows.
Okay.
And Kelly was so impressed how you had progressed in sleep, you
Yeah.
know, from EEG all the way to management. And then you went into, now you have your master's in public health. Bravo
Yeah.
to you, Sunshine. I do too. So we're really excited to hear about all the great things that you've seen and some of the things you just really just need to say, hey, we need to be paying attention to some things. So thank you so much for honoring us with your time. We do appreciate it. And we just know that this is your time to shine. Okay. So there's no such thing as you talking too much. Okay. Just
Okay.
say what's on your heart. Okay. You'll be surprised. So many people are like, oh, I'm talking so much. That's why you're here. We want the world to hear all the great things you have to say. Okay. And there you go, Kelly.
Okay. Well, thank you, Donnie. So, Whitney, thank you so much for coming on. I'm excited to have you on. I told Donnie how you posted on LinkedIn. Well, I see you posting a lot on LinkedIn, and I love it. And I see you're starting to post even more very recently. So,
Yeah. I took a little bit of a break for a bit. I was recovering from my cycling crash. So, but now I'm posting a little bit more because I actually feel like it.
well, I'm glad you're doing better from your the accident.
Yeah.
And she commented on navigation, and you
Mhm.
can correct me if I'm wrong, Whitney, but pretty much I was talking about sleep navigation, or we call it clinical sleep health practitioners, because we really should elevate our field up in what we
Mhm.
call ourselves. How other wishing other hospitals would do that. So I saw then you have your CCSH. And I was like,
Mhm.
how cool. And then on top of it, then I realized you have your master's in public health.
Mhm.
So I think someone like you would be awesome to have on here because you can show how the two almost interact and how your passions evolved over time from you were a medical assistant too, right?
Yeah, during that was actually kind of during the pandemic. Sleep took a hard hit during COVID. A lot of people left the profession, and I've been in the medical field for a little over 18 years now.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so the medical assistant thing was for me to keep working because a lot of
Mm.
the labs either shut down or they weren't, the techs weren't being properly utilized as they should have been. So yeah, that was my way to stay afloat.
That was very smart. Well,
Yeah.
tell us about how you got into sleep. What made you interested in sleep, and then how you decided to get your CCSH and then your master's in public health.
So my journey into sleep, it was kind of one of those weird things. I was actually on the path to getting my Bachelor of Nursing, believe it or not. I started my journey in healthcare started out as a nursing assistant, and of course, there is pressure to go into nursing, but for me, I had a series of events that was beyond my control, and nursing didn't work out. But I was determined to stay in healthcare because It felt like a calling to me. And I had heard of polysomnography before. I knew what it was. And I thought, that sounds so interesting to me because I've always had this investigative personality, and I always want to delve deeper into things. And as a child, I had sleep paralysis. Of course, when you're a kid, you don't know what that is. You just become conscious and you can't move, and you're like, what is this? So I thought, that looks like a really interesting field. And one of the things that I loved about it is you have this technological aspect, and then you have the clinical aspect. So you're combining technology and clinical, both. So that was one of the things I'm like, how cool is it? You hook people up to all these wires and you're looking at their brain waves. How cool is that? And you're studying their sleep. So from there, worked as a night shift technician for around 8 years, and then I went to days. I was working day and night shift in the same week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough. I learned a lot. I learned a lot doing that, but it was rough, and ultimately my body said, no, you need to do one or the other. So I was able to go into a management role. That's where the home study sleep management experience came into play, assisting with sleep consults. That spurred me to get my CCSH credential so I could give people results of their studies, and I could I could do more in the sleep consults along with the physician. So now the master's degree, I'll be honest, that was completely unplanned. I had from the nursing going into polysomnography, gosh, I had so many setbacks, just roadblock after roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And when I finally got my associate's degree, I was like, you know what? I am done with school for a bit. I'm done. I waited 9 years to get my bachelor's.
Good for you, though.
Yeah, I waited 9 years, but I got my bachelor's of health and human services, and I was going to WGU, Western Governor University. And my advisor was so encouraging and so nice. And she said, you've got an unusual background. She goes, why don't you go ahead and get your master's of public health? Just go on, just do it. Just do it. And I was like, oh my God. But I was like, because I knew master's program to do a lot of research. And I was like, okay, this is right up my alley. Okay, let's do it. So, and I worked hard on it, got it. And I'm glad that I did, because I'm done with school. But in sleep, insomnia and obstructive sleep apnea are public health issues. Mm-hmm. So when I was getting my master's degree, when I had the option to choose a subject, mm-hmm. That's usually what I chose. I chose something that was sleep related. And then I had one where I could choose a topic, but I had to compare countries.
Oh,
and the country list, I compared the United States and Russia. So compared with obstructive sleep apnea, heart disease, and obesity. And I found out we were very, 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 very similar on all three disease states.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm surprised by that too.
Yes, it was. It was really astounding to find out. I was like, oh gosh, we're not so different in that aspect. But yeah, very, very, very similar instances of sleep apnea, obesity, and heart disease, which was very surprising to me. So it was very eye opening, and I at our local sleep symposium, which is all online, I'm a guest speaker for that. Okay. So different topics. The topic I'm going to do in the spring, I believe, is since I was a survivor of my cycling accident, trauma and its effects on sleep.
Okay, awesome.
And
So when is that conference or
so we generally have it in May is the spring conference.
okay.
Used to be in person. Unfortunately, it's all online. I wish it would go back to in person, but since COVID, everything's been online. It's stayed that way.
Okay.
So
And what's the
it's
name of it?
it's the Highland Sleep Symposium.
Okay, Highland Sleep Symposium. Okay, awesome. I really want to go back to that when you talked about the CCSH
Yeah,
and you said work along with the physicians
yeah,
and yeah, tell us more about that because a lot of people don't understand how vast, well, I guess I should say what you could do with this CCSH.
right. So let's go to the exam first. And I've seen a lot of people, yeah, you know where I'm going with this. So I do see a lot of questions from fellow sleep technologists about inquiring about the exam. Like, well,
Mhm.
what can I study? Here's the thing. There's nothing you can study to prepare you for it. I know that that's not what people want to hear, but it's a lot of it is experience based. The questions on the exam are experience based or going off of your experience. Also, there's a lot of medication questions involved because that heavily impacts sleep. So if you're looking to take the exam, just know that, yeah, you can study, but it's not going to 100% prepare you for the exam. It's really you have to use your experience and your best judgment. So, but
I think I'll say this. I would say this, Paul, I'm sorry for interrupting. When it comes to the exam, you're right. And what I found is coming from RPSGT, trying to do that, I found that if they use the Sleep Pearls book, because it has the case studies and you have to think through a case study, helps a lot. I did find that helped a lot. That helped me a lot because it got my mind out of when you're a technologist, you're looking right there. This is what I got to do. But when you're in CCSH world, you're out there looking at different things, components, what's going on with this patient, they're this medication, they're here for this. So yeah, but that one, Sleep Pearls, is an outstanding book because
yeah,
it gets you into that frame of mind.
yeah, yeah, and a lot of those questions are case study based on the
Mhm,
exam. So
mhm.
a lot of analytical thinking. So you have to really think through. So yeah, anything pertaining to case studies is definitely going to help someone when they go to take it. So because it puts you into thinking ahead of the game and thinking about the bigger picture.
Yes.
That way you're not so narrowly focused on where you're running a sleep study. You're thinking in broader terms.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
I think that's what's so intimidating. Thank you for saying that.
yeah. So so the CCSH, I worked with a neurologist who was also he was he described himself as being a sleep doctor with in neurology, but he was really a neurologist that had the sleep credentials. But sleep and neurology are heavily intertwined
Mhm.
because, and I've done EEG, the main cause, when people have seizures, it's usually when they're asleep. It's not what you see on TV most of the time. That's over dramatized. So they do go hand in hand. So able to assist him more. So lots of times a physician, when you have that and you're able to, when you're working in a more closely knit, intimate basis with
Mhm.
each, sometimes the sleep doctor will ask you, well, what do you think? So, and you're able to assess each other, and you're able to
Mhm.
bounce ideas off of each other to get the best care for that patient. So getting that credential, I think you get a whole new level of respect from the person that you're working with, and they're liable to come to you and go, well, what do you think? Oh, okay, well, this is what I think. When you're giving people with results, and you're able to, because usually when you call patients and you're explaining that, some people are really confused. Well, what's an apnea? What's a hypopnea? Oh my God, I have central sleep apnea. Ah! So being able to break everything down into layman terms where people can understand and go, oh, shoot, okay, it's treatable. So, um, yeah. So, but you do have, and actually, one of the things I was able to do because I developed such a close working relationship with this physician in particular. We had, oh gosh, this is going to kind of go into insurance. I know it's a whole other ballpark there with insurance. Unfortunately, it has leaked its way over into sleep. I had a person come in, they were positive for sleep apnea, normal run of the mill obstructive sleep apnea. He was denied a machine. Yeah, his insurance flat out denied, saying, quote unquote, not medically necessary. And I'm going, oh my gosh, like, are you serious? And he had heart issues. Of course, we all know that untreated sleep apnea that exacerbates heart issues. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are they serious? Okay, I got to sit in. The physician came to me and said, "You ran." Now it was a shift worker, so I ran his. He had come in during the day. I ran the study during the day, his PSG, and then the CPAP. And he said, "Would you mind to sit in on this peer to peer?" He said, "I'm going to do a peer to peer." He said, "Do you know what that is?" And I said, "Yep, I know what that is." And he said, "Oh boy." And he said, "Would you see, since you were the technician that ran both studies, would you mind to sit in on this peer to peer?" And I said, "Sure." So I think having that extra education, having that credential, it does allow for a greater level of respect. And unfortunately, that patient was still denied, even after peer to peer.
Just briefly, why was the person denied? Briefly, do you remember why they were denied? Because
their medical insurance said, when we got the letter, it said not medically necessary. That's what it said.
wow. Did you tell him to get a different insurance policy?
I did educate the patient on you might want to change your you might want to change your insurance. And then my investigative personality had to come out, and I had to find a company who will. There are companies out there that will sell directly to a patient without insurance. They just have to pay for it out of pocket.
Right.
So, but I was able to do that. I actually do that with 2 people. So there are people out there, but you have to dig around and find companies that will do that. Yeah,
Yes, but without you, the patient, you and your knowledge, the patient would not have known that. And I think in our field, we just maybe not the three of us, but some people in our field, we assume that patients are being told how to do things and direct them, but they are not. So
no,
it's awesome that you did that. Thank you. And you used your
yeah,
CCSH along with your entire sleep background to help him to the end. Now that's on him if he has the money to do that, but at
yeah.
least he knows there's an option. He wasn't left out
Yes.
there to the wind, which many of our patients are. So
They
thank
do.
you.
They are, and they do fall through the cracks. And where I see the most people falling through the cracks are primary care and also hospitals and sleep. Yeah, yeah. Sleep techs in the hospitals are really, really underutilized. They're used primarily to run the night shift studies, and that's it. And it's not the sleep lab managers. The sleep lab managers and the directors know. They know the sleep techs are capable of more. It's the people that are above them, the leadership, that don't understand that. And I've talked when I was working with APRI, of course, I was going around to all the sleep labs talking to, and I'm like, what are you running into? What are the issues? Because you get to talking to people and, readmission rates. And I always ask them, because unfortunately, where I live, we have a monopoly where I live. It was just very unfortunate because they call the shots. I said, have you ever spoken? I was asked these sleep lab directors, have you ever, how come you guys don't have sleep navigators? Allow your technicians to get the CCSH credential and allow them to be navigators.
Mhm.
And they're like, we would love that more than anything, but we can't. But leadership says, nah, let's not do that. And I'm like, That would reduce readmission rates. And they're like, we know that. We've explained that to them. We've given them statistics and they ignore it, unfortunately. So that's the biggest, one of the biggest barriers I see from sleep techs advancing in the field, because they're just not given that chance. They're put in this little box, so to speak. Oh, well, you're an RPSGT, you can run the studies, that's it, that's all you're good for. No, that's not all we're good for. We can do a lot of things. And when you get to studying all those disease states, especially when you go into the realm of pulmonary, you put a sleep tech over there on a pulmonary wing, they're going to be able to go there and go boop, 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 boop. Yep. This person's high risk, that person's high risk, that person will be a readmission, this, and this. They're going to be able to point them out. So it's unfortunate that sleep techs aren't utilized more like that, and they should be. And I think that's why you have so many, we do have a sleep tech shortage in the United States. We do, because COVID, a lot of people said, you know what, no, forget this, I'm getting out of sleep. And then a lot of people got discouraged because when they came back, they were put back on night shift. They're wanting to progress with their career and move on up, learn more, do more. And they're just being put in this little box. And I don't agree with that.
Well said. Well said. Bravo to you. You said it out
Yes.
loud. The world is going to hear it. Well, we've been preaching. Say amen in the church.
Yeah. Stop putting sleep techs in a little box. We're capable of so much more, especially when you go on and get your education. You can go onto the clinical operations side. You can go onto the analyst side. We are able to, if you have experience with sleep software, like Alice 5, Alice 6, G3, Somnoware, Polysmith, Neon Codon, all of your sleep softwares, Natus. After you operate a few sleep softwares, they're all pretty much the same. You just need to know what's where, and you can pretty much figure it out. And you can have a sleep tech go in there and analyze, everything, and they can help configure because they're already familiar with the HL7 interface. They're already familiar with it. So that's the beauty of the sleep tech, is you have a good combo of clinical and technical. You have a person that can do both if they're willing to learn both. So you have to have someone that's willing to learn both. And if that person's willing to learn both, you can do. I mean, like, the world should be your oyster. But unfortunately, people, they just see that RPSGT and they just keep putting it in the box. And it's like, no, we can do more.
Awesome.
Yes, we can do a whole much more. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping, as Donnie and I are interacting with more people on LinkedIn, and hopefully when we go to conferences, we'll meet more people in person too. We're hearing of other hospitals that are having sleep navigators or clinical sleep health practitioners, which is exciting for me to hear this. And I'm hoping as more keep doing it, then the hospital you mentioned and others that are like that, they're going to change, because they are missing. They can save lots of money on readmissions, save lots of money on decrease in length of stay, because what happens when you increase length of stay, especially during the busy seasons like winter, with all the viruses and everything, or spring with all the asthmatics, they sit in the ED, right up against a wall because there's nowhere to put them. And then you have ICU back. They keep coming back to the ICU. And without us directing them in the hospital, we all know, depending on where we live, for example, one physician, it could be 45, 60 days or longer to see him. However, with a navigator, there's ways that we can help push them through. If it's not with that physician, it's going to be with another one, because we know, all three of us, the high probability ones that are going to come back. Or perhaps, unfortunately, does not wake up one morning because their heart failure is so bad, or your COPD, etc. But I love you talking about that because I know there's a lot of people, and Donnie harps on this, there's a lot of older people like Donnie and I that do not want to take the CCSH because they're just happy where they are. I'm not sure if they're necessarily happy, but they're content because they
Yeah.
don't want to take another exam. And yes, the CCSH is not easy to do, but I'm hoping that younger people will hear our podcast and more of us start going into high schools, which I know some are in different states, and we start promoting it. We don't necessarily need our place of business that we work for to say, go do that in high school. We can all do that ourselves. And many people are parents themselves or their aunts and uncles, and they have their way into the school easier. And once you start doing that, because I see certain hospitals that are doing that, but I never see sleep. I see respiratory, I
Yes.
see nursing. I'm thinking, where is sleep? Because as you said, we can do anything. Who else in the entire world can say sleep impacts 172 diseases? Right? No
Right.
one. So why is our entire community not like running
I
trying
know.
to get this up? So I
I
love how
know.
you said everything you said so clearly, and I hope everyone heard every word that you said. Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
I do. I hope so too. It's, sleep gets put on the back burner by a lot of, other professions, and I'm not downing nursing or respiratory therapy at all. We need them just as much as,
Exactly.
but when you're trained in sleep, you're trained to look for specific things that other professions aren't trained to do. And also too, you're also analyzing when you're running a sleep test, you're analyzing that person's sleep architecture. So
Real,
you're,
real time, real
yeah,
time,
yeah,
real
real,
time.
yeah, you are seeing them go into REM sleep with those biphasic eye movements if they're not tonic. If they're tonic, tonic REM. Yeah. So, um, but you're able to identify because normally, like narcolepsy, we've all seen all of these commercials for, uh, you know, sleepy and tired during the day, and it always says narcolepsy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it could be sleep apnea too. It's not always narcolepsy. But the cool thing about running the tests and looking at someone's brain waves is that once you learn everything, and you know what normal sleep architecture looks like, you can look at it and go, they don't have. Now they still have to stay for the naps the next day, but it's going to be negative because you've been trained to know what to look for. Now you come in, you run the sleep study, and they hit REM sleep within about 10 minutes. They have a short REM latency. There's a high probability that they probably have narcolepsy. So it's, but I don't know of any other profession that can do that. It's just so, it's so unusual. And I think a lot of people can't wrap their heads around that, I think. And they think, oh gosh, I just don't know what else this person can do. But that's the thing, because when you're looking at all of that, you're constantly analyzing. And with me, I was always thinking of things that were causing something abnormal. So I was always wanting to investigate and dig a little bit deeper. I was really bad about chart digging. I really wanted to get into their chart and dig and see what my kind of, or was it a certain medication? What was, going on with this person? In people with fibromyalgia, they get looked over a lot in sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And fibromyalgia really affects sleep negatively. It impacts their sleep because they have so much alpha intrusion.
Yes.
And so, and which makes it very hard to read too.
Yes.
It's like, oh my gosh, the whole study looks like Wake. so, so yeah, it's a little, we've all been there. Um, so it's yeah, so yeah, it's but I think a lot of I think what the issue is you have, you know, the respiratory therapists and you have nurses, and they're out there, like those are the two that pop out the most. And then way in the back, you got the RPSGTs, and people are looking at us going, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a respiratory therapist. Like, well, what do they do? Well, guess what? We do a little bit of nursing. We do a little bit of respiratory therapy because guess what? We have to do split night studies. We have to know our CPAP, our BiPAP, our ASV. We have to know all that stuff. We have to know our pressure settings. We have to know not to over oxygenate somebody because you can do that. So we have to know all of that. So I think in our field, I really think we are undervalued and we don't get enough credit where credit should be due.
Mhm.
Especially when getting your CCSH credential, which I urge people to go and get. I know people, I totally understand people getting put off by, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta take another exam. Oh, totally get it. Because I'm not a good test taker either. I have test anxiety, and I have to sit there and take a few good deep breaths. So I get it, but I would definitely urge people to do it and to further your education. Go back to school, get your bachelor's, get your master's degree. Go forward, because you can't put, well, technically speaking, you can put a price on education, um, but it's going to help you in the long run. It's going to help. It's going to help you as a technician. It's going to help increase your value. And if your employer doesn't value that, well, time to find another employer.
Bravo.
Yeah, time to move on. Time to move on and find another employer. So find someone who will value everything that you're willing to learn. And I'll be honest, my CCSH credential, it was valued by the physician, but as I finished my education and finished the master's degree, the physician, he was very proud of me. Everyone else, not so much. So unfortunately, I outgrew that area. So you have to move on. And you have to be willing. I think a lot of people get scared to do that.
I love
Because
it.
yeah, they do.
Awesome.
Yeah, they do. And I think a lot of people, they, you know, like you said, they get comfortable and they get scared, because I have friends that have been sleep techs for 20 years. They've been night shift for 20 years. They never, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing with that. But, you know, are they happy? You know, are they happy doing what they're doing? You know, so you have to have that drive too, and that you have to be able to want that, to want to improve yourself, to grow and to learn more. And if you're a curious person like I am, I'm all the time asking questions. I used to drive my teachers nuts. Um, well, why is it that way? Because I said so. Well, no, why is it that way? So I was never satisfied with that answer. I wanted to find out why. How does this work? So
Awesome.
yeah, so, but I think technicians too, if they want to advance, you know, you're really working in the best of both worlds. You're working on the clinical side and you're working on the technical side. And you're just combining both, whether you realize it or not. So learn as much as you can, especially with troubleshooting. If you can, you know, learn your machines forward, backward, learn how to troubleshoot, you know, your software. Now there's going to be things that you can't fix. Head box issue, you can't fix that unless you have an extra head box laying around. And most labs don't have one. At least labs I was at, they didn't have an extra head box floating around. So that kind of ruins the study a little bit. So, but yeah, but I think a lot of people go into sleep because they think, oh, well, it's an easy job, working nights. There's a lot to it. It's not a physically demanding job, it's a mentally demanding job. You stay awake at nighttime. You're responsible for not one, but two patients. If one of those patients is a train wreck, they're having cyclic respiratory events, you have to use your judgment to split that person. And then, heaven forbid, if your other person's a train wreck and you have to do emergency intervention on them, that's usually what happens.
Especially at this stage of the patients that are coming into the sleep center. You're right.
Right. That's the other thing in sleep. And I've noticed this for the last several years. Your sleep labs are seeing a higher acuity of patients, much higher acuity than, let's say, about years ago. I've seen more pediatric patients come in.
Wow.
Because obesity, and of course, with peds, it's always different. They have to, if they test positive and they still have their tonsils, they have to have the tonsillectomy, adenoidectomy, and then come back after about 6 weeks, get retested, and then if they're still positive, then they have to have CPAP.
Okay.
So a little bit different, protocol on peds, but I have seen more peds come into the sleep lab. Now, with that being said, it's not always, it's usually poor sleep habits. Little Johnny gets up and goes to the bathroom 5 times during the night. Well, he has a 20-ounce Mountain Dew beside of him right before bed. And he's eating cheese, and he's sitting there eating cheesy poofs. So, yeah, his sleep is not going to be the greatest. So,
oh, we love it. We love it. We're going to have her back. Oh my goodness.
So that's usually
we're actually going to have you teach the class of how to transitioning for RPSGT to CCSH. We're going to have a whole topic on that, girl, because you were rolling. I was like, yes.
I can do it. Listen, I've seen a lot of interesting things. Sleep eating, that's another interesting sleep disorder. I've seen it.
Wow. Yeah.
It's highly unusual, but it happens. It happens. But yeah, it is different, when you're when you're transitioning between the two. Yeah, especially when consults, you're coming in and assisting with those, and the parent brings in their kid, and they're like, my kid doesn't sleep, and they are bouncing off the walls, and I'm like, how much caffeine do they have?
I love it, because I used to work at our children's hospital. So yeah, there's all different kinds. But we are running out of time, Whitney. I do want to ask you one last question I ask everyone. So where do you see sleep going, either in the next year or in the next 5 years?
I hope sleep becomes more prevalent. It is becoming more prevalent than what it used to be. Thank goodness to commercials. You see more commercials about Inspire, about being sleepy during the day. I think people are becoming more aware, which is nice. So I do see sleep becoming more prevalent. Where I'm a cyclist, I have some teammates that have come to me and they said, I went and had a sleep study done. And I'm like, bravo. And they're like, I was tired of being tired. Even though they're normal weight for their height, they're like, something's going on with me. So I think it's becoming more prevalent, and I think it will continue on that trend because there's more people speaking out. I think within the next 5 years, I hope to see RPSGTs in more advanced roles.
Love it.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. I hope to see us, rising above and beyond, and
Yes.
getting that education and being utilized for everything that we can do.
Yes. All right. That's a good way to end. Look at you, Whitney.
Yes.
You came on and did your thing, girl.
Thank you so
Wow.
much. I
Yes, that
appreciate
was
it.
amazing. Thank you so much for honoring us, girl. I mean, you put some nuggets out there. People gonna have some gold and some diamonds because you just did your thing. Thank you so much. I'm serious. It was amazing. You were really feeding into what we're going through as far as, people being afraid and the importance of us being responsible ourselves and getting the education so they can see the value, because that's where it is. It doesn't matter if we know it. If we don't advance ourselves, then they're going to look at us. I see what you do, it's great, but you're just an RPSGT, and
Right.
it's nothing wrong with that. It's awesome. But as you know, we're aging out. So we
Yes.
gotta, these seasoned people, we put some spice on everything else now. We don't need to stay over here and be salty, because that's what they're acting like now, because they've been on sleep for, like you said, 20 years. They're all
Yeah.
salty. So we got to take all the season and put on the other side so we can grow our field. So
Mhm.
thank you
We're
so
gonna have
much.
to spice it up. We're gonna have to spice it up, Sleep.
Yes, we are.
Get out there, spice it up, put a little bit of stank on it.
That's right, girl. She see Kelly, she know about the stank.
Yeah, get out there, get that education. I mean, get out there. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. I mean, hey,
Mhm.
listen, I'm a recent trauma survivor. I got hit by a car while I was racecycling. I'm not scared of anything now.
That's
So
right.
get out there and do it, because guess what? Life is short. Get out
Yes,
there
it
and do it.
is.
Get out
Yeah.
there. Don't sit there and say, well, I might do it one day. No, 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 no. Get out there and do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're going to end on that, girl, because you did your thing. I'm just going to say it. She did her thing. And she put some stank on it.